Welcome back to Movie Moshow. Today we are going to review the legal drama film, On the Basis of Sex. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We post multiple times daily. Spoilers ahead. When Martin Ginsburg, her husband, receives a diagnosis of testicular cancer in 1956, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a first-year student at Harvard Law School. She cares for Martin and their young daughter Jane while attending both of their classes, taking notes and transcribing lectures. Martin is hired by a business in New York City 2 years after his cancer has gone into remission. Ruth asks Dean Griswold of the Harvard Law School for permission to finish her studies at Columbia Law School in New York, but he refuses since he must adhere to Harvard University standards at the time, so she moves to Columbia. She graduated at the top of her class, but despite that, none of the law companies she applies to want to hire a woman, thus she is unable to obtain employment there. She accepts a position as an instructor of sex discrimination and the law at Rutgers Law School. In 1970, Martin alerts Ruth to the tax law case Moritz v. Commissioner. Charles Moritz, a resident of Denver, had to employ a nurse to assist him in caring for his elderly mother so he could keep working. The Internal Revenue Code Section 214 at the time clearly stated that only a woman, a widower or divorcee, or a husband whose wife is incapacitated or institutionalized could deduct the cost of nursing care. As a result, Moritz was not allowed to claim the deduction. Moritz, a guy who had never been married, was told by the court that he was ineligible for the deduction. Ruth sees this case as a chance to start challenging the numerous rules that have been passed over the years that presuppose males would work to support the family while women will stay at home and take care of the husband and kids. She thinks that if she could establish a precedent declaring that a man had been unfairly subjected to sex discrimination, that precedent could be used to support cases contesting laws that discriminate against women. She also thinks that an appellate court with all male judges would find it simpler to sympathize with a male appellant. Ruth meets with Mel Wolfe of the ACLU to ask for their assistance, but he declines. Moritz decides to let the Ginsburgs and ACLU to represent him pro bono after Ruth persuades him that millions of people could possibly benefit. Ruth then flies to Denver to meet with Moritz. Dorothy Kenyon, who was initially opposed to the concept, meets with Wolfe in his office and persuades him to sign after seeing the draft of the brief. Moritz's refusal is appealed by the Ginsburgs and Wolfe to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. Attorney James H. Bosworth from the Department of Justice requests to serve as the defense's principal attorney. Bosworth uses a computer search to locate all of the U.S. Code's sex-related sections. His defense will argue that if Section 214 is found to be unconstitutional, that will allow for the challenge of all sex-based regulations in the United States. Ruth struggles in a moot court due to her lack of prior courtroom experience, and Wolfe persuades her to let Martin present the tax law first before Ruth presents her equal protection points. Moritz is given a monetary compensation from the government. Ruth counters by suggesting that the government give Moritz the amount he claimed as a deduction, declare that he did nothing wrong, and record that the sex-based provision of Section 214 is illegal. The constitutionality component of this proposal causes the government to reject it. Martin goes over the permitted time for their side during oral argument at the Court of Appeals. Despite her nervousness, Ruth makes numerous important arguments and allots 4 minutes for rebuttal. Bosworth presents his side's position as protecting the American way of life, saying that the Ginsburgs and ACLU desire radical social change and that Moritz just doesn't want to pay his taxes may be the case. Ruth's response is considerably more certain. She claims that societal responsibilities from a century or even just 20 years ago are no longer relevant. She does not urge the court to alter society, rather, she requests that the legislation be updated to reflect the changes in society that have already occurred. She retorts forcefully that neither the word woman nor the word freedom are present in the Constitution in response to a judge's claim that it does not. 6. Wolfe, Moritz, and the Ginsburgs celebrate Ruth's success as a lawyer outside the courthouse while the verdict is still pending. The titles over the final scene reveal that the Court of Appeals reached a unanimous decision in favor of Moritz. Ruth later helped co-found the ACLU's Women's Rights Project, which successfully challenged several of the sex-based legislation Bosworth had cited. In 1993, the Senate approved Ruth's nomination as an associate judge of the U.S. Supreme Court by a vote of 96-3. The last shot depicts Ginsburg as she ascends the steps of the Supreme Court building in real life. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.